My
So
thing, he's
welcome to the TD Report.
I don't know. We haven't went live. Have we? No,
We're live now. Excellent.
no. We're
Welcome
not
to the
live yet.
TD Report. Yeah,
We're not.
welcome,
We're not
welcome.
live yet. We're not
Yeah,
live.
you
Yeah, we
are.
are.
You
We
live.
are.
Are we live?
What up?
Everyone, this is the TD Report where
Yeah, we are.
we talk about sports, and we talk about a lot of different things outside of sports. Right now, the biggest thing in sports is the Brittany Griner story. Let's lead with that and get a few minutes in on that. Brittany Griner was popped by Russian officials, supposedly for having a drug paraphernalia in her luggage, and was sentenced in court in Russia and sentenced to 9 years in a prison camp, and had been incarcerated there. What was it, Dev? Going on 9 months.
Yeah, almost 10, I believe. Close to nine and a half.
It's about 9 to 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a period of time, everyone, where she was essentially missing, where the embassy didn't know where she was. She didn't have her phone. She didn't have any type of contact. But her family and team and friends knew that she had been in Russia. She played over in Russia during the off season and even took a season off from the WNBA to make more money, because the Russian teams over there pay more money than we pay the WNBA players here. So as of this point, she has been released. The Biden administration worked out a prisoner swap, and obviously there's going to be a lot of controversy behind the prisoner swap because of who we swapped the United States for Brittany Griner. And I will leave the politics to you if you want to talk about that. But I will say this: a very emotional time for Brittany Griner and her family, obviously her team, and it spoke to a lot of things outside of sports. Just the world that we're living in right now. Jody, what is your feelings on Brittany Griner? Anything you want to say, just bring it out. We'll talk about it in the forum. I just wanted to set the table for you guys to talk on it.
Well, you know what, Brittany Griner, this is a testament of what we're not doing with the WNBA. If the WNBA was making more money, if we had more support, because it's amazing how so many people are in outrage because the WNBA players are not getting as much as NBA players, of course, or any other athletes, but yet and still they don't go to games. They don't buy jerseys. They don't buy tickets, but they're the first ones to be outraged. So this young lady had to go overseas to make more money because actually, I'm not particularly sure if what she had in her possession would have been legal in certain states in the United States. I'm not sure of that, but I'm pretty sure the punishment would not have been as severe as 9 months. I mean, 9 months.
9 years.
No, I'm
Nine
saying the
years.
9 months she spent or the
Oh,
9 years she was potentially supposed to do. So I feel like, I'm not gonna get into the politics of the trade, because I really don't know. I can't get into something I don't know about. But what I do know is the sports aspect of it is we have to pay our females a lot more money. And not only you can't be the one screaming, hey, we're not getting our athletes and she's not getting enough money, but then yet and still the stadiums are empty.
mhm.
The stadiums are empty. Y'all not going to check out the games. Y'all not buying the jerseys. You're not buying the paraphernalia. You're not watching it on television, but you're the first one to say that they should have equal pay. So I think I'm
Mhm.
gonna put this on whoever the marketing or whoever dealing with the WNBA, so our players won't have to go overseas and they can play right here in the United States, and we don't have to worry about swapping any type of prisoners, because if she was in the United States, she probably would have been out and not served nothing but probably that night in prison. So
Mhm.
that's my thought process on the Brittany Griner situation.
Tony, are you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Talk to us on Brittany Griner and what your thoughts are on the situation. It could be anything. I'm going to leave this free form because we'll call it Free Form Friday. We're just going to just kind of just throw it out there.
Well, first of all, we're happy that we have an American home. Um, so the little cartridge of CBD that she had um, isn't worth no 12 years of hard labor. Um,
No.
it's just amazing to me how we call ourselves American, we call ourselves patriotic, but we are just it was just going at her for her getting free. And if you think, if I will be the first to say, if Brittany Griner was over there setting up shop, trying to sell drugs in their area, trying to, cartel type stuff, dude, I would have been like, y'all keep her for good. But to have a little cartridge inside of your vape, and that's what you have been using because of your pain. I mean, come on, man. There's a difference in, how should I say, industrialized countries, civilized countries versus uncivilized countries. There's a difference in just use or how should I say, cartel type stuff. I mean, she was getting time like if she was Noriega or someone. And then everybody over here complaining, talking about, well, she went on her knee, she hate America. Man, I had so many people get mad at me because you mad at her for being on her knee and all that crap. See, it's political because when it's a black woman, she's gay, she's black, and it's a woman. So she had all three things working against her in our society. I bet you if she was white and she came home, they wouldn't be complaining. They wasn't complaining about Amanda Knox when she came home and they said she killed somebody. They wasn't complaining when she got off.
That's a good point.
So you see, this country is full of white folks who make excuses for their whiteism or whatever you want to call it. They damn hypocrites. And if you don't agree, F you. Because
hey, Tony, I got to talk about another guy. Let's be honest. There's some black people out here that are talking some of that stuff too. And one of them was Micah Parsons, who got himself in a little bit of trouble on his Twitter.
I don't care about Micah Parsons. He was a dumbass. If you make a statement like that, I don't care. Listen, I can wear cowboy stuff and I can criticize you. Unlike Tommy, I criticize my team when I don't make excuses for them. When
why is Tommy catching strays? Wait a minute.
He never criticized his team when they in the wrong. When
Tommy,
your team is in the wrong, you criticize them.
You about to get Tommy to get on this show. Tommy gonna get on here and get
at Parsons to not speak. He has a right to speak. Michael Parsons, you need a better PR person because when your black butt go away and you get caught up in something, you may be in the same situation as Griner.
Hey, Tony, let me get Devin. Let's get Devin Mason in here. Devin, how you doing, man?
Good, how y'all doing, man?
We just talking up a storm over here. Put the Brittany Griner thing in perspective for us. The type of athlete she is, what she means, and just in general, what are your thoughts on this Freeform Friday on the TD Report?
Well, I mean, she's probably the best real back to the basket center in the WNBA. Most of the bigs that play don't do what she do. They face up. She's more of the back to the basket. The Asia Wilsons and those what's my girl here, Candace Parker. They more of the can do everything. She's a catch it in the post, finish around the rim, protect the rim, and rebound. That's what she does. She's a real back to the basket throwback for the game. So they don't have a lot of her, but it's a blessing that she's home. But I honestly don't think she's gonna play ball anymore. I think she's done.
Wow.
I think she doesn't need to. She doesn't need to because she can write a book. She can do appearances and make more money than she makes playing basketball anywhere in the world right now because of what she's been through. And not that you would look to capitalize on that, but that's what people do. I'm pretty sure there's a book deal coming. I'm pretty sure there's some real appearance money coming and things like that to speak on what she's been through. And once she gets through this the mental part of it, of coming home and they took her to San Antonio to meet with the Army doctors and to get checked and all that good stuff. So, it's going to be a while, but I don't honestly think she'll be on the court anymore. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't really see her getting back on the court. I don't think she needs to. Now, she may want to. That may be her safe haven, but the way I'm looking at it, she can make a lot more money writing books and doing appearances than she can making. What is the maximum salary? She gets like 210, I believe, which is a max for a
220,
WNBA player.
230.
220.
That's the NBA. That's the WNBA super max.
Yeah, that's supermax. That's chump change.
Yes,
That's chump change.
But you know what? They're
So-
increasing the games to 40, so she may be able to increase her salary as well because they're increasing the games to 40.
Still ain't nothing. Nothing will be better than a bestseller. A bestseller will get her millions that she hasn't seen. I mean, she got to go overseas every off season to make money. I just think it's crazy, but that's what it is, and they don't get enough support. So it's always going to be like that because of the lack of support they get. They just don't get enough of it. But I don't see her suiting up again for the Mercury. I just don't.
You don't see her suiting up?
No,
okay.
I don't see it.
I think also there's a collective, there's a community collective within the WNBA. When the WNBA has gotten together on some political issues, they were able to actually get an owner removed. They were able to get the owner of, I think it was the Atlanta Dream, Kelly Loeffler, who's also a senator, and they were able to get her removed as their owner. Based on the Black Lives Matter protests. Yep. Now we move into this situation. The WNBA mobilized, to show support, to show that they hadn't forgotten, Brittany Griner and, in her incarceration over in Russia. And for the most part, shout out to a couple of NBA guys, quite a few NBA guys, most notably Kyrie Irving, showing her support and showing solidarity. And they showed that humanity is, when you pull things together, when people come together, we can do good things. We can make good things happen. Obviously, the WNBA wasn't the one making the actual face-to-face negotiations with the Russian officials to get this to happen. There's a lot of moving parts to this. Now, obviously who she was traded for was a convicted arms dealer. We won't use his name here on our show because I don't want that name hitting on our show if anyone hashtags it. But in general, not a good guy. He was going to be in jail for another, I think, 6 years. So the Biden administration was given not really a choice, but they were given no choice. It was either make this trade or we're not trading for anyone else. We do have a former Marine, a dishonorably discharged Marine, convicted of spying in Russia, that a lot of people in the media, in the populace, wanted to make the trade for. And Russia's basically said no. So it's similar. People will say, oh, well, just make this trade. I'll tell you what, come to Washington, come to the Commanders, and try to get Deron Payne on a trade right now. The answer is no. The answer is always no. They're not trading. You see what I'm saying? So that's basically what I would call that. We hear this in sports media all the time. That's a non-starter. So in order for them to get Paul Whelan, who is the Marine that we're talking about, to get Paul Whelan out of Russia, that was a non-starter. He was never on the table. Okay. Russia never said, you give us something else for this guy. And, even if we had given them the arms dealer, they were not giving us back Paul Whelan. Okay. And Whelan's family has put out numerous communiques and a couple of tweets. They understand how dire this situation is. Russia is not going to let him go. And for Brittany Griner to catch backlash, because that's what's happening to her, she's catching backlash for this. She's home safe. Whelan is still over in Russia and doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon. He's going to have.
He ain't coming home no time soon, man.
He's going to finish out whatever sentence he has. I believe it's another 10 years.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
It's almost 10. It's like 9 and some change.
It's like 9 and some change.
He got a while to go, man. Yeah.
He's not going to be back here in the United States until he's 60, over 60. Okay. Yeah. So I have personal knowledge of how these things kind of work. My former wife used to do this type of work overseas, building embassies, and, essentially one of the guys that she worked with ended up getting caught in an espionage scheme. And he went to jail. He's in jail in Arizona. It's easy to find. You can look it up online. This joker was in jail for espionage, I think, for about 15 years. So we can do the math. He went in jail when my son was 2. Harrison is 17. He'll be 18 in July. So you could do the math. That Joker went to jail for a solid 15 years for espionage. So these foreign countries, and this was in China, by the way, Russia and China, places like that, do not play around with espionage. So if you're going to spy, you know what I'm saying? If you're going to spy, this is what's going to happen. Now, I'm not going to say that Paul Whelan was guilty or innocent, but the facts are this. He was a former Marine who was dishonorably discharged, and he was discharged in 2008. And he stayed in country until 2018, not as a military member. Then is when he gets popped by the Russians for spying.
But you know what, Dave? Like, I would like to speak on that just for a moment because
go ahead.
Brittany Griner is, unfortunately, she's going to be, for the rest of her life, is going to be the person that if she wasn't an athlete, would that anybody have cared, etc. And I don't think that's fair to that young lady. She was free for whatever reason. But I want to speak a little bit on the Marine that's left over there. Me being a former Marine, honorably discharged, we were taught better than that. We were taught honor, commitment. That's what we learned first day that we got off the bus. So he knew what it was up against. He was up against when he went over there doing the espionage, the spying, and whatever. That's something that we were taught, and that's how we were trained. So being a former Marine that's honorably discharged, sometimes the punishment has to fit the crime.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a Marine, you know what you're up against. You know you stand and you look it dead in the face. So that's why I hate to say it. If he committed the crime and he's guilty, we know better. As Marines, we're taught better. So I'm not gonna beat him down. Now, if he's innocent, yes, bring him home. But if he did it, we were taught a lot better than that. You know, when I came home from the Marine Corps, and May had got into maybe a car, maybe got pulled over, they look at us differently than they look at civilians because we were taught better than that. We know better than that. We were trained better than that. So sometimes our punishment is going to be more severe than the common civilian.
It's a tough situation. Paul Whelan was also caught with 3 different forms of international identification. And by that, I mean 3 different nation passports. You're only from one country. You only get 1 passport. So the fact that you have 3, something's going on there. So whatever it is, if he was spying for whoever, if he was spying for us, these guys know the deal. If you're going to spy, if you're working for the U.S. and you're going to spy, you get disavowed. I think there's some people, one of them being, Micah Parsons, who is thinking that we could just go over there with SEAL Team 6, like this is a Steven Seagal movie, and get Brittany Griner back or get the Marine back or whatever. It doesn't work like that. No. So, Brittany Griner, and she's the story. Brittany Griner is in such a tough position because she's so polarizing. Like you mentioned, she's African-American. She's a physically dominant player that plays the level of basketball the way that she plays it, okay? There's really nobody that she can play with in the women's game that can do what she does, like Dev pointed out on that analysis, right? Back to the basket. She will put you down in the paint, she'll get to her spot and call for the basketball, and you didn't see her get the basketball because she's that big. Now what do? You do nothing. You're at her mercy down in there in the paint. She blocks more shots, she rebounds, she defends. I believe she's been defensive MVP in WNBA, I think twice. So, she, and then also her sexual orientation makes her a lightning rod for criticism from all kinds of different ways. So what we have here is a media frenzy now. And as Dev mentioned, she can parlay that into a book deal. I've heard conservative estimates that a book deal for her would give her an advance. So as you understand how the book industry works, a major publisher will give you an advance before they even sell a single book. And then you get a percentage after they've made their money back. So they said a potential advance could be in the couple of millions, $2 to $5 million. And immediately when it hits the shelves, it's going to be a book that people are going to read. and then she'll be on Good Morning. She's going to be on Good Morning America now, as it is. She's going to make the junket. She's going to hit every major channel's morning
Today
news
show, all
yeah,
that stuff.
morning news
Yeah, she can do
shows.
all that. Yeah.
She's going to do Oprah. She got to do Oprah. You know, she's going to
Tamron Hall,
yeah,
Tamron Hall and all them shows.
exactly.
Yeah.
She's going to do all of that, and then when the book comes out, she's going to do it again. You see what I'm saying? So all this really amounts to, guys, is news cycles on top of news cycles, appearances, appearance fees, all of these things that she's going to be able to make is going to dwarf her WNBA salary, as well as her endorsements. She also does have those. So, I mean, I just think this is a fascinating story from us that study media, that study sports, and how the juxtaposition or how the intersection of sports, race, sexual orientation, media, politics, all kind of swirl around on this. And then obviously drugs. There's some people that are going to say, oh, well, why would she have that with her, and so on and so forth. Well, you do have to abide by the laws of the country that you're in. Jody, you travel to other countries, either on assignment or if you were deployed over there, they tell you these are what the laws are when you're over here. You can't do this, you can't do that. If you're in a Muslim country, you can't fraternize with women in certain circles. You can't just walk up to a woman on the street like you would here in the United States. These type of things, you're briefed on this, right? So Brittney Griner was a very well-traveled individual. So she understood before she went to this country or that country. She's represented the United States in international competition, as a junior athlete, and then moving on from there. So this isn't a situation where she's a scofflaw, where she did something because she planned on just not respecting the laws of the country that she was going to, and a frequent traveler to Russia because she had played there professionally before. Joe, your thoughts on where does she go from here?
Honestly, I listened to what Dev said, and he has a lot of insight on what's going on. But I would love to see her back on the court. I think that will be a refreshing thing that she can put this behind her, because she's still a dominant figure on the court, and I think that will bring more fans to the WNBA. There'll be a lot more people will look to see her play just because of the experience that she went to. And I think that might be what I hate to use, bad publicity, but sometimes bad publicity is better than no publicity at all for the WNBA, just to give them an opportunity, because it's a lot of great athletes in the WNBA that just don't get the exposure. I think with Brittney Griner's situation shedding the light, I think that we will be able to see those other players that are great athletes that never get an opportunity to get to show what they can do on TV. And I think the Brittney Griner situation will give an opportunity for us to see those on a regular basis, not just on highlights on ESPN when the playoffs come around. I think it needs to be every game, and I think it needs to have a better package. And I think she will give the WNBA an opportunity to market her that way.
What I've noticed, Jody, is and Devin can speak to this also. The WNBA has been partially built on a lot of great young players, high school players that came right here out of the DC area. You'll talk about a Monique Curry. You'll talk about a Nikki Teasley. Who else? Sky LaRue. You know what I'm saying? These are some of the great schoolgirl talents that came out of here. Marissa Coleman that went to Maryland out of St. John's. What's that?
Kara Lawson.
Come on. The WNBA has partially been built off of some of these types of players that come out of here. And I just feel like the Washington Mystics, to a degree, have missed out on a lot of that, of being able to pull that synergy together, where we've watched these kids as schoolgirls grow up here and be first team all Met, and then they go to a Tennessee, they go to a UNC and ball out. And it just seems like after they get out of college, it's not the same anymore. You see what I mean? And whereas college basketball on the men's side has been able to kind of galvanize that, where a guy will go from college to the pros and they'll follow his career. The one WNBA player that I remember that really springboarded off of her college career into the WNBA was Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes had that great Final Four and that great championship game for Texas Tech, and she really captured a lot of fans. And she became that commercial face or commercialized face of the WNBA, where Nike did a ton of commercials with Dawn Staley, players like that Cynthia Cooper, Teresa Witherspoon, and did a good job with that. But I think something's been lost in the marketing side. What do you think about that, Dev?
The marketing has never been up to par. That's been the issue. Even when the league first started, and you had Lobo in New York, and you had Cooper and Swoops, and Cooper and Swoops. I believe was Tina Thompson. Yeah, Tina Thompson. All
they were in
Houston.
Houston. They were down in Houston.
And you had people forget these two names. You had Yolanda Griffith and Tisha Penicheiro holding down Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Lisa Leslie and Delisha Milton-Jones holding down the LA Sparks. You had real rock solid duos, trios, and in the case of the Comets, you had really 5 players, because you had the late Kim Perot, who was a very well-loved figure. When she got cancer, I think the league really hurt. And then you had Michelle Snow at center from Tennessee, who was a part of that team with the Samika and Tamika and Catchings.
Shamika
Holdsclaw. So the league has changed. The league has never marketed them. They marketed themselves more so than the league marketed them. I've never thought the league did what they could for them. And yeah, I get that these owners of the NBA teams that own the WNBA teams feel like they lose money, but they don't put money into it. So you're not going to lose money when you're not putting money into it. I've never really seen them really go and really put any money into it. I've seen the Mystics at one time, Dave. You know this. Nobody had better attendance than the Mystics for about 10 years. Mystics games were good for 10 to 12,000 people every time they stepped on the floor at the downtown, at the Verizon Center, when it was called that, and the MCI Center, and now Capital One Arena. There was always big crowds down there. It was always big crowds. And it's crazy now. They're playing over at the Congress Heights Stadium, and you can hear a pin drop in that place. And that's a smaller venue, 6,000 people, I believe.
It's Devin. It's state of the art. It's beautiful.
Play. It is absolutely.
It's beautiful.
Gorgeous. It is absolutely wonderful. Yeah. It is. Leon just outdid himself with that one. He really did. He did.
I appreciate what they did there. And by the way, here on the TD Report, we are missing Tony with some technical difficulties. We'll try to get him back on. Tony basically said in text, he just hit on chat. He said that Brittney Griner doesn't have to play anymore. He reiterated that, and he's agreeing with you, Devin. He doesn't think she needs to play anymore. I would tend to agree. So why don't we let that be the last word on that? If we can get Tony back on, we'll talk to him on that. Let's update the Deion Sanders situation out in Colorado. Devin, you wrote a piece on, I think it was the quarterback that was, decided, I'm not competing. I'm just going to bow out. Can you talk about that just a little bit for our viewers and just kind of bring us up to speed on where Deion is as far as compiling his staff?
Well, the quarterback actually entered the portal before Deion even took the job. He entered the portal last Thursday before Deion made the announcement, but he had heard rumors of Deion being on campus, so that kind of let him know, you know what, he's bringing his son. We went 1-11. He don't want me, so let me go. But that kid isn't that bad. He just needs to get with the right coach. He isn't that bad. The team was bad. The kid can play a little bit, but he knows he's not going to play. As far as Deion's staff, he hired Mississippi Valley State's head coach. What's his name? Vance Danley, who
that was today, right? When the announcement came out.
It was yesterday, late yesterday.
Okay.
But today. It was really yesterday into today. So he hired the Mississippi, and people were saying he didn't hesitate to take that job. So why y'all mad at Deion? He saw a come up. He's gonna go from making $175 a year to probably $300, $350. That's what you get when you become a Power 5 position coach. That's the kind of money they make. People don't know. That's a lot of money that you're going to double your salary.
Jody's shaking his head at that money.
You double your salary overnight. So his defensive coordinator will be Charles Kelly. Mike Zimmer was what he was really going after, but Mike Zimmer decided, I just want to consult with Kelly and you and things like that. I don't want a full-time, I'm done. I coached in the NFL. I did the Cowboy thing. I had the Bengals run. my son just passed. I just kind of want to
Mm,
help you
yeah.
out, help you devise, but just having his knowledge in the room at times would
Oh,
be
sure.
big for them because
Sure.
he's going to help prepare defensive guys for the next level because he runs defensive stuff. He runs professional stuff on his side of the football. So, but Charles Kelly's a very good defensive coordinator. After Jeremy Pruitt was the coordinator that helped them win the championship at FSU in 2013, he took over and had a top 10 defense 3 of the 4 years he was there, I believe. Top 10 or 12 at FSU, and they were like second in sacks 2 times and fifth another time. So that's a good pickup. His offensive coordinator is Sean Lewis, Kent State. And see, Sean Lewis is a guy that a lot of people don't know about. He has a track record with Dino Babers, the Syracuse coach. He was with Dino Babers at Bowling Green, and he was at Dino Babers at Syracuse. But Sean Lewis is also going to bring an offense that is going to really fit what Shedeur does best. Now, Shedeur has a long way to go to me before I believe he can play at this level and produce high at this level. But that's what Dion is going to do, put pieces around him to make it easy on him. Sean Lewis at Kent State has had a top 5 offense, I believe, 4 of the last 7 years. And the times he didn't have it, his offensive line got broke up. This year they was 35th and they lost 3 starters. That's still really good in the nation. 35th ranked offense in the nation with 3 key starters down for the season. So he's a good coordinator. And, it's a couple other guys. He got his linebacker coach and he brought Kevin Mathis to coach the D-backs. And there's a few other guys that are starting to figure out what they want to do and adding things like that. He's adding some other guys. So it'll be kind of fluid for the next couple of weeks, I guess, as he continues to put the staff together. But the problem they say he's having is this staff is 2 times the size of Jackson State staff. So he's got more money to play with, so he's got to get more guys. But that's pretty much what I'm seeing so far.
Okay. Hey, Jody, jump in here. As this goes on, let's talk about the ripple effect back at the HBCU level. Have you heard anything about what could happen at Jackson State as far as coaching? Or do you look at it as a standpoint of as if guys start to move up to the FBS level, from an HBCU, that's going to open up more opportunities for maybe some younger, more innovative guys? Where's the next Sean McVay that's going to come out of the HBCU ranks? Where are they going to incubate? If you stay in those HBCU roles for 15, 20, 30 years, like an Eddie Robinson did back in the day, is this going to potentially cause a ripple effect going backwards to the HBCUs?
You know what? I truly believe that it will. I hate to say it like that. This is my personal opinion. And before I even get to that, one of the things that really has upset me about the Deion Sanders move, and I think it's like I said, I'm not mad, I'm more upset, because the first thing that everybody threw at me was he did it for his staff members. They wasn't getting paid. And now he don't even have his staff in those major positions where you can get a nice bag. Those guys are not even the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They're position coaches. So you didn't even take who you came with. Now I understand that it's a different level. I understand that you're playing in Power 5, but I'm gonna take you guys. If we go to the next level, I'm taking you guys. I'm not taking anybody else. I'm gonna take who I won with. How you know you're not gonna win when you're just undefeated with them? I don't understand that. That's where you're telling. You go to HBCUs and you tell people that God sent you. Then you go to Colorado. Now God sent you there, so God changed his mind in a year. So that's the problem I had. Now going to the HBC, now we're here to pick up the pieces. Somebody made a analogy that it's like now Jackson State is a single mother, that was left behind.
Ooh.
And I know it sounds comical, but let's think about it.
It's a single
Let's
mom.
think about it. Let's think about when these guys go get drafted and the women that was standing by their side, as soon as they get that money, boom, Russell Wilson being one of them. We remember that. And now he's with someone else that was not there through the struggle. And I understand everybody keeps saying, Jody, you can't put it on one man. But when that one man is trying to come in and say that he can do it himself, he said he can do it himself. So why are we getting mad? Because now that we're saying what he said. We're saying what he said. We're not saying what somebody else said. Deion said this stuff. Deion said he can change the culture. I'm the reason. I'm swag. Who's swag? I'm swag, baby. So now you gone. What, you packed now? I'm packed now. You know what I'm saying? You selling these young men a drink, because guess what? A lot of these young men didn't have fathers. So they clung to you. They was on you like you was their father. And you just broke their heart. And now we got to have somebody else, the stepfather, so to speak, come in and try to put this back together after you took 10 of his best athletes with him. 10 of his best athletes with him. You took the 5 stars away. So
you basically strip mined, your Jackson State roster. I get it. I mean, and we're going to talk about this after we get Tony in here. Tony, welcome back. Everything good on your end on technology? You're good?
Yeah. Listen, with the way Jody puts it, I feel him. But we have to look at this. We all went to college here. Do y'all remember the old story about the Trojan horse? What happened with the Trojan horse? What did they do? What is the story with the Trojan horse? Do y'all understand what Deion is actually doing? What he's actually doing is 130 D1 jobs. Only about 10 to 15 of them are African American.
If that.
If that. What have we been doing to change that number?
Nothing.
0. I think Deion's plan will change that number. It's a bigger picture. Deion, listen, when you go for an interview on a D1 job, they're going to break you down. Have you been a coordinator? Have you been a head coach anywhere? Position coach? What have you done? There's a reason why he's taking the head coaches. Because now, if you're looking at big picture, my head coach at Mississippi Valley State was my wide receiver coach / co-offensive coordinator. When he goes in for that interview, he checks all the boxes. He goes to UCLA. What does that guy do when he goes to UCLA? He looks back, go back to the HBCU that he came from, and take more coaches. So when it starts to go down, you got to understand they're filtering coaches up. The HBCU hires 99.9% of their coaches are black. So let's look at all the coaches that are going to be replaced are black. So when they keep moving up, they got to reach back, grab another coach, which means they got to fill another coach in. Dog, in order to get our coaches in these places, we have to have someone at that position. Whether it's Deion, whether it's your boy from Dayton at Notre Dame, we got to start somewhere. That's big picture to me. And I think Deion is the Trojan horse. And letting Colorado just open their campus and let them in. And when they get out, who knows? But that's what it is, and that's how we got to look at it. I'm through fighting about trying to save the world because those folks don't want to hear. They don't put no money in their program, and them kids ain't going to no raggedy-ass facilities, and you can't only come back for homecoming. That's just me.
Yeah. Now, as we look at the coaching situation, let's talk about something that's going to be near and dear to Tony's heart, definitely near and dear to Devin's heart, something that we've talked about in production for weeks, and I think we're going to be first on this story. The worst game of musical chairs in all of sports is the transfer portal. These kids are basically short selling themselves. So you get a high D1 offer and you take the high D1 offer. You don't like your playing time as a freshman or a sophomore. You got a redshirt year, whatever. You still have 3 years of eligibility left. So you think that you're going to go from let's say a UVA, and you're going to go to a UNC or Ohio State. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to go to the FCS level. Okay. You are not necessarily going to take yourself and then move on from the FBS level and stay at the FBS level or go to a better program. What's the numbers on this, Dev? Is it 41%? Something like that don't find somewhere to get?
41 and 41.7, as I saw a couple of days ago. Almost 42%.
Honestly, I would say this to your high school kid that's out there right now, that's thinking about getting ready to move on. We've talked about it on this show. Hey, bruh, talk to your folks. Don't do it yet. You see what I'm saying? They've got to start talking some sense into these kids. The high school coach at St. John's College High School, they just won the WCAC again this year. Pat Ward, he played college ball at Maryland. Okay, he's working with high school kids like you are, Devin and Tony, and he's saying that right now the way that it's working, it's impacting, this transfer portal is impacting the high school signees. There's nowhere for these high school signees to go because the coaches want to go into the portal and pull their talent because they've got college tape. That's their advantage over the high school 4-star, 5-star guy. Hey, look, I've already seen this guy play against college talent. And so now your high school athlete, your 4 stars, this is who is going to hurt. It's going to hurt your 3 and your 4 stars the most. Those are the guys that are going to get stuck in that portal. The 5-star guys are going to get to where they're going. They're going to get there. They're going to get to where they're going. It's that 4-star linebacker, right, that you see play, and someone's like, you know what? UVA is going to shed a guy that's getting 110 tackles a year. We can get that guy. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. That's even better than junior college. What do you think about that, Tony?
Well, I to speak on that, folks, we have about 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks from Wednesday that they signed, the 21st. You better be committed. Y'all saw the stuff that we sent out. I've been sending the numbers out.
They don't look good, Tony.
All those, if y'all got it in front of you, how many running backs were there? How many quarterbacks? How many wide receivers is on that thing? It's a lot of people. If you know high school senior, because I'm getting ready for the Crab Bowl. This time next week, I'll be in Ocean City for the Crab Bowl. This is one of my speeches that I'm going to give to the parent. One of them is, please pick that school that you can see yourself being at if football doesn't work out for you. Because that will stop you from all this garbage and all this mess of just, it's ridiculous, man. People don't want to compete. They get mad at the coach because the coach is coaching hard. I mean, it's just a different animal. So for all you old heads, well, all of us consider old heads now, even the young ones, Jody and them.
Jody doesn't consider himself an old head.
All you old heads out here, it's a different animal. So don't think, and that is the reason why people like Dion and other people can take these jobs all around the country. Not just Dion, but other people want to take these jobs because they can switch their team in a year. They can have a different team right now. I mean,
turn it over fast.
They can just turn it over. Remember the old days? You had to sit out a year. You had to go through this. You had to go through that. All that crap. No, dog. It's a different ball game. And did y'all see the one thing I sent y'all? The guy it was down to 3 teams. Whichever team bought his card the most, that's the team he was going to.
Yeah,
right.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Tony,
that is the new world.
Tony, remember in the old days, Dev and Jody, in the old days, your current coach, the outgoing coach, could restrict which schools you could go to. So if you were an SEC guy and you were at Ole Miss and you wanted to transfer to Alabama, in the old days, they could just say, you can't transfer to Alabama. You can't transfer to South Carolina. You can't transfer to Florida.
They could block
those
it.
could be, they would block you. And so now you would either basically have to go out of the region or go out of the conference, which is what they really wanted. They didn't want to play against you. Now all bets are off. Jody,
you just flip over. You just flip over.
Jody, talk to me about player mobility. And is it going to kill the goose that's laid the golden eggs, which is college football?
Well, first off, before I get to that, the 76ers are playing the Lakers, and Joel Embiid is completely destroying Anthony Davis. He had 20 points in the first quarter. Anthony Davis had 2 and 3 fouls. I had to say that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm watching it, too.
Whoa.
So, but to speak on that is it's going to destroy the Alabamas of the world. It's going to destroy the Ohio States because in the next 3 to 5 years, every team that has a innovative coach can grab whatever guys that they want. And now there's no tampering. There's no, secret meetings. You can get who you want at this particular time. If that guy is frustrated and you can see it, or you got a relationship with the guy where you tried to recruit him, but he thought that it was a better suit if he went to Alabama instead of going to Auburn or what it may be. So now you don't get that playing time. That coach is like, I told you, come on over here. I got a spot for you. You're going to start immediately. Because that's all as players and parents want to hear. Can you get my son to the NFL? Now, this becomes a question, and I wanted to throw it at you guys because I've been thinking about this the past 4 to 5 days. They're going to have to find a way, like the NBA, where you can leave and go pro a year earlier. Because right now, that's what's killing everything, because these players have to play a minimum of 3 seasons or redshirt 1 season before they can go professional. I think they have to make a rule. If you're gonna open a portal up like you have, and it looked like the Pandora's box is what they have opened, I think that you have to find a way that these guys potentially can leave after their freshman year. And I don't think it's going to happen because the NFL is very strict on that. But if you're going to do this and you're going to force these guys' hands, because like Tony said and Dev said, these guys may not have a home to go to. And what happened to academics? Like, what happened to academics? Because what people don't know, and I think Dev probably knows because he's been writing a lot of pieces on this, is Colorado had to change their educational structure to let those guys transfer in because they had a lot of stuff that wasn't compatible with other colleges. Did we talk about that? Where so they had to change the grading scale just for these guys to transfer in and be eligible the first year to play.
I posted that in the group. Yeah,
you posted that.
Where is education in all this? Because what I thought is that we're student athletes, but now we're athlete students. Where is the educational portion of this?
Hey, Jody, we business people, then athletes, then students.
Right.
Business people first. They get paid.
And if that's the case, you're going to have to open it up where these kids can potentially go pro after their freshman year.
They're not going to be ready, Jody.
Hey, Jody, we lost you a little bit there. We'll get Jody. We lost your last statement. Can you give me that?
I said at some point they're going to have to make it where at least these kids can leave after their first year or potentially a red shirt in 1 year. They're going to have to find a way for these kids to be able to go pro. If you're going to open this portal up, like Dev said, it's over 4,000 kids. It's going to get even worse than this next year.
Well, this is honestly, this is the Maurice Clarett situation all over again. Is if you're the NFL, okay, you're the Roger Goodell of the world. You're running an NFL Veterans Committee. An NFLPA is running itself, determining new membership. Okay, bringing in bringing in college true sophomores. Okay, how does that impact your player base? How does that impact your workers? That's literally what it is. Can these guys compete for jobs? Can they hold jobs? Are we bringing in guys that are too young, not physically mature enough to play this particular sport? Okay. And looking at it from a standpoint, that's where the big number guys come in, where you're turning out, okay, what's the washout rate? You can't have guys coming in that don't have their college degree and you wash out of the NFL in 2 years. Okay. You'd rather see guys have that 4-year degree or at least 3 years of college academically. And if they wash out of the league, they can go back to school, get their degree, and get a real job, right? But is the NFL in the business of taking care of society issues? Because education is a society issue. The NFL is a business, okay? So what do you think about that, Devin? You're getting phone calls from parents or from kids that you coached 2 years, 3 years ago. And now they're talking, hey, coach, I think I'm going to make a move. I'm going to get out. I'm going to go from Bowling Green. I'm going to go to UVA. I'm going to play in the ACC. How do you counsel somebody, and how do you basically play third base coach and say you have to stay? You know what I mean? It's I don't know how you handle that.
Just did it a couple of days ago. You gotta look at what you already have accomplished where you are, and you gotta say, if I go here, new coaching staff, yeah, they're gonna tell me they want me. They want to get me down here. I'm good for depth. Am I really gonna get a package of plays put in for me every week where I'll be a featured guy and have 4 or 5, balls thrown my way, targets. Am I gonna have chances to stay on the field for all 3 downs? How they gonna use me? That stuff is important, so you gotta tell kids, be careful, because don't forget, you're going into a new system. You gotta learn that system. You gotta prove to them that you know that system, where you already are, you know that system already. And you've already more than likely shown that you can play in this system here. I'm not telling all kids that moving isn't okay. So it's okay for some to move. The systems that they're in may not fit what they do, and there may not be enough innovation in the system they're in for their skill set. But in this situation, that innovation in that offense is more than good enough for what you do. Actually, it's actually made you a two-way guy, because your chance at the next level could be a hybrid tight end wide receiver, which is something that we're seeing more and more every day. The Kyle Pitts of the world, the Okonkwo's of the world, basically what Travis Kelce is. Basically,
he's amazing.
Kelce was that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You got to have that. So it's like, why are you so gung ho on trying to get somewhere else when you don't know what's on the other side? Yeah, it looks good. And it may even be enticing, because of course they're going to come at you with everything they can. They want you, but is the grass really greener? Will you be regretting this move in the spring when spring ball come around and you see things aren't going your way? You can't jump back in the portal then, but you can't play that next year. You out,
Tony.
So once you make this move, you're out.
I'm sorry about that, Dev.
No problem.
Great stuff on that. Tony, does that make the coach's job harder? Because you've got a recruiting cycle, right? So you're recruiting, and then you've got your signing day coming up. Great. But with the transfer portal opening up every year, you're recruiting twice.
Yep.
You're recruiting high school kids and you're recruiting college kids at the same time. And that's 2 different types of recruiting. As Devin mentioned, you're going to be selling. You're selling your program. But now you're going to be trying to sell to a targeted group. Hey, I need a wide receiver. My All-American wide receiver graduated last year. I've got a junior quarterback. I can't go back into my roster and get a wide receiver that's going to do what that kid did. So let me go in the portal and see if I can find that guy. What do you think about that, Tony?
How did my man say years ago? Read my lips. No new taxes. Let me say, read my lips. NIL director. That's it. Whoever runs the NIL is going to run that school.
Yep.
That person is the most important person.
The 2 most important people of any program, as Tony stated, and not to cut you off, is the NIL guy and the strength and conditioning coach. They make or break a program. If those 2 people are in place, your program is going to be fine. Because the NIL guy is the money, and the strength and conditioning coach is with you all year. When the coaches can't be with you, they're with you. That's why it was such a big situation at Maryland when the kid from McDonough died. That's why it was such a huge deal, because that is the guy that's supposed to be protecting you and be pretty much your go-to every single day, because the head coach isn't available like that. He comes in, he runs practice. Well, he don't even run practice most of the time.
He doesn't run practice. Yeah. He's an administrator.
Yeah.
He's the CEO. He's the CEO.
He's the delegator. Yeah, Tony, no. I'm seeing Mike Locksley. Mike Locksley don't run no practice. Mike Locksley just there. He don't run practice. He speaks at the end.
Top
assistant.
The beginning.
Your top assistant.
Yes. Yeah, your top assistant. The coordinators run the practice. What's up, Jody? What you got?
I'm gonna say this: the person and the organization that's going to win out of all these transfer portal guys, and just ride with me on this, is the XFL. The XFL is going to get quality players, because those guys that get lost in the sauce and don't get anywhere, that's not going to get the opportunity to go to the combine and not opportunity to go to NFL. The XFL, mark my word now. Dev, you got to do a piece on this. XFL right now is going to be the true winner in this, because they're going to get quality household names, and they're going to be able to expand their league, and they're going to be able to get those ratings, because there's no football going on from February to I think it's July. They're going to
you got the USFL. That's actually doing well.
That's what I'm saying. Those leads, the XFL,
Yeah.
these leads that's
Yeah.
coming up, they're going to be the
There's
big
enough
winners in it.
players. There's enough
Yeah.
players for both of those leagues.
See what I'm saying? Because we didn't have that opportunity because those guys would go to the NFL and you might have heard this guy, but now you're seeing Drake May, because I think Dev said he's staying at North Carolina. But let's say Drake May goes into the portal. We know who Drake May is now. But let's say Drake May goes and he goes to Wisconsin and he doesn't, that system doesn't fit his style. And then the years go by, he doesn't get drafted. But we remember Drake May. Do you see what I'm saying? So when that guy goes to those alternative leads, hey, I want to watch. Because I remember Drake May freshman year. He had an outstanding freshman year in North Carolina. Man, I want to watch this game now. So those are the winners in all this transfer portal stuff.
You're right.
Jody, great stuff. I hadn't thought of it. I hadn't thought of it that way. I'm worried about where these guys end up in terms of you've got your Division I guy, solid Division I guy that makes a mistake and gets in the transfer portal. What happened?
Ooh, Anthony Davis all on his neck off the rail. You see that there?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
man. And the Bears didn't even count. It didn't even count. It was they called a foul, so it didn't even count. Yep.
So as we get ready to finish up on the TD report, we don't usually get on here on Friday. Usually we would have led you in to the Thursday night game. I've got to talk about what happened last night. Incredible comeback by a guy.
I'm taking this off.
I know. An incredible comeback. You can't call him Jesse James, Tony. He's only making $1 million. Listen,
Cleveland's
in
still
a season that the Los Angeles Rams have essentially thrown up the flag.
That's for Carr.
Oh,
Carr's
that's for Carr. I was going to say, Baker Mayfield literally got off an airplane less than 56 hours ago to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Met people in the locker room, went through a couple of walkthroughs, learned where the bathroom was, and went out and started an NFL game and came back in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns to beat the Los Angeles Raiders. And it was what was left on the clock.
Vegas Raiders.
Vegas Raiders. Sorry about that.
It was like 20-something seconds. It was 20-something seconds when they caught that touchdown. It was low.
No, 10.
10.
He caught
It was 15. He caught it at 10 seconds. Yeah, because he threw the ball at 15. You're right.
98 yards. 98 yards, and I think it was 46 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
He made a couple of great throws, but there was no pressure on him. I was mentioning to Dev earlier in production, he posted that, what a great job he did, but what a bad job the Raiders defense did in not putting pressure on a guy that literally might not know his left tackle's name.
Yeah. Pat Graham. Pat Graham bailed him out. Pat Graham let him off the hook.
You see what I'm saying? How Devin, when you go back and look at it, he had a clean pocket on 3 or 4 of 5 throws.
He did. Nobody.
They didn't get anywhere near
3 or 4 steps of him. No, he was clean.
Yeah.
He had everything.
He could climb the pocket. He could climb the pocket. He could move around. But I will say this: he threw strikes. Every throw that he put was a dime. It was amazing.
What did
you think about that?
Me?
TK.
What did I think of it? I thought it was some semi-pro type stuff. He might as well had a cigarette on the side with a 40. That's what that shit was. I mean, man, if I was no pressure, Raiders, I would be hot. Because Carr is stealing a check. He is stealing from us.
He only put up 10 points, dog.
And the playoffs is done.
Was it 16 points? What they put up? 16 points?
17, 16, yep.
They put up 16 points, and the Rams defense has been rough this year. This is going to be an interesting season or an interesting off season as they deal with the salary issues and salary cap. But Baker Mayfield at this point. Let's talk about Matt Stafford. Jody, Matt Stafford, it is feared, might not be able to play football anymore. That's the lingering thought, is that he might not be able to play football anymore. If he can't play and has to retire, what do the Rams do? They're going to look at somebody like a Baker Mayfield to get there on the cheap until they draft their quarterback of the future. This gives Baker Mayfield another shot.
Actually, you know what? They have no choice but to go with Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford, if you go look at what I posted a few weeks ago, that they need to look in other directions, because Matthew Stafford, even though he won a Super Bowl, has not been the quarterback that they thought. Actually, right now, outside of the Super Bowl win, which is major, I'm pretty sure they'd rather have Jared Goff at this point right now. I know they would probably rather have Jared Goff, who is looking phenomenal right now, regardless of what people want to say. He's looking phenomenal in Detroit right now. He feels comfortable. He actually has weapons around him. He has a running game. Hey, Detroit is 5-7 and has a better record than the Rams and less talent. So I say that to say this: you may have to go with a Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield, as we said, he looked humble. We finally seen Baker Mayfield humble, because when he played for these guys, there was no humbleness in him.
None.
Now, I'm going to give him his credit, because he did win a playoff game, something that we haven't seen since I was a kid. And I'm 44 years old. So he will always go down as one of the Cleveland Browns' best quarterbacks. I hate to say it, until we get some other wins. He's a top 5 quarterback in Cleveland history. That's not saying a lot, but he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks.
Crazy. You got to be crazy.
Wait, Tony, you know I'm a Browns fan. We got Otto Brown, we got Brian Sipe, we got Bernie Kosar. That's it. So he's a top 5 quarterback in Cleveland Brown history. Go back and look. I'm a Cleveland fan.
He is.
That's how bad it's been.
They just don't have a lot. He is.
It's been abysmal, Tony. It's been abysmal.
So when we look at Baker Mayfield and what he did he win that game, or did the Vegas Raiders lose that game? Because when you have Devontae Adams, who is still putting up numbers as if he's the best wide receiver in football, not get a target in the second half, even if he's double covered, that's what you pay him for. You pay him to try to at least see if he can make a play. When outside of him, with Hunter Renfrow not in the lineup and Waller not in the lineup, that guy is it. And you got Jacobs playing he's going to be all-pro running back this year. So what are your excuses? Derek Carr and McDaniels together equals poo, because that is absolutely awful display, and you can't put everything on Max Crosby to get pressure on the quarterback. Where was the blitzes? Why didn't you dial something up? Because Baker Mayfield does not play under pressure very well. Go back and look at Cleveland. Go back and look at Carolina. When you put that 5th or 6th rusher on him, he doesn't make great throws. But when you let him sit back, he looks great.
Jody, when you look at what Sean McVay was able to do on very short notice, and to get and Baker Mayfield said it on NFL Network after the game, Baker Mayfield didn't necessarily, obviously, he wasn't calling his plays. Those came in off the headset. But what he did do was he got them in the right protections. If you get the protections right and you get the right guy to slide and make those moves, that gives you that clean pocket. And to their credit, the Rams executed on that last drive and just literally went down the field like it was flag football. Devin, it looked like 7-on-7 out there.
Let me tell you the thing that I was impressed with. I'm an offensive guy. I was impressed with how Sean McVay called his offense from the sideline to Baker Mayfield and coached him through each play.
That's great.
It was like high school. That's coaching. That's okay. I know he doesn't know my offense, but we still gonna run my stuff, and we're gonna do it in a way where I'm gonna protect him, and I'm gonna give him what I'm gonna see what he. If you notice in the first half, McVay gave him the things that he thought he could do. And then he took what he didn't do well and scratched it and said the stuff he did do well, we're going to keep running it over and over, which was the quick hitters, the get the ball out your hands, the move the pocket, all the little things that Mayfield has been known to be good at. He incorporated that in it was an impressive display of coaching by Sean McVay. And I don't know if people give him the respect. I think they do think he's an offensive genius, and I think he is one as well. But last night showed you how good he is when he's really locked in. The guy is unbelievable. That display with a quarterback that had been there a day and a half to call, and don't get me wrong, the Raiders helped, but he still made the right play calls. I mean, they were using a guy named Tutu Atwell at receiver.
He actually,
and I know who the guy is.
Well, he's been doing pretty good the last couple of stuff.
Yeah, he's decent, but I mean, they're using whatever they have. And Ben Skoranek, I mean, these guys are making plays, and I'm like, yo, these dudes Josh McDaniels, oh God, he is.
The social media Listen,
He's so
guys,
bad.
the social
He's so
media that
bad.
went, the social media during that game, you had guys like Kyler Murray tweeting, "Yo,"
Yeah. Somebody said
Lin-
if
Lincoln
somebody
Lincoln Riley was tweeting. I mean, it was this whole Oklahoma thing. I was expecting to see Barry Switzer out there with a hot dog. I mean,
but
it was
it's funny
crazy.
because I saw one analyst, I can't remember his name, he said, if Baker Mayfield pulls this off, I'll go get neutered. Man, I almost fell out, man.
Sign him
Well,
up.
he,
Snip,
Almost
snip,
fell
baby.
out, man.
They
I
gotta go.
said, you
Gotta
know
go.
what, man?
Snip it off.
I
hey,
said, but he did it. He pulled it
they
off,
said
man.
that Baker Mayfield, the reason why he won that game because he thought that the other wide receiver was Cooper Kupp.
You know what?
You know what? Y'all
It's
wow.
funny, man. I'm telling you, man. When they were on the 2-yard line, I looked at my wife and said,
This over.
The Rams ain't making this drive. And
This
next
over.
thing I know, I look up, he's got that throw to Skoranek. When he made that throw, I said the Raiders gonna mess around and let him beat them. I said it because I said they're gonna be dumb and they're gonna play coverage and they're not gonna bring pressure, and he's gonna keep dumping the ball underneath. And they went into that stupid prevent. All the prevent do is prevent you from winning. That's all it does.
That was a 2D. That was a coverage that the corner was supposed to hand it off to the safety. He ran with the
and they got confused.
He ran with. It's the worst part for the coach. Okay, he didn't hand him off well. He ran with him. Okay, that's cool because the ball is coming.
Yep.
The safety was still late coming over.
Yep.
Didn't get the football. Didn't hit the guy and separate man from ball. And the ball drops in, and the kid made a hell of a catch.
Maybe he did go up and get the football.
The safety,
he went up and attacked it.
The safety went through his line of vision, literally like that, and he still caught it.
Yep.
And for most of our Thursday nights, guys here that are watching the TD Report, usually that Thursday night game, the guy on our team that is stuck having to watch it and report back, nobody wants to do that job. This was worth watching.
Yeah, it was good.
This was worth watching because usually these games on Thursday on the Amazon, Amazon has been a dog. They've been terrible. But this
I wasn't going to watch it. I was like, no. And then something I saw it was 13-3, and I said the Raiders are losing to the Rams. I mean, the Raiders are winning. Okay, let me turn it on and just see. And I actually, I saw the end of that game, and I got to see the end of Monday night's game where Brady did the same thing to the. It was 16-3 in that game, and he somehow beat them because they went into a dumb prevent defense.
If you had money on the Raiders, folks, get Devin on his inbox Devin because it's his fault because he turned the game on. Because that's when the Raiders started losing was when Devin turned the TV on.
I couldn't believe it, man. I said, and then you see it was 3rd and 5 and they played for the field goal. Like they thought they were going to just win because they're getting field goals. I'm like, 3rd and 5 and you throw the ball 2 yards. Like what are the Raiders? They were trying out. They were playing out the league.
And you got Devontae Adams. You paid Devontae Adams handsomely.
And he's been balling.
At least let him make a play. Josh
he's still the best receiver in football. I don't care what anyone says. I know the other guys get out of height. He's the best receiver to me in the league still.
Honestly, I gotta go. But I want to say this. I gotta go out of work tonight. I'm gonna say this. Baker Mayfield, you still play for the Browns because you knocked off the Vegas Raiders for us. You still play for the Browns. I'm out, fellas.
Hey, appreciate you, Jody. Man. Yeah,
hey, bro.
Devin, as we close up shop here, appreciate your insights on that, especially on the X's and O's. Let's you and I work together on this transfer portal thing because honestly, this is beneficial. This isn't beneficial. I'm starting to think, where does the transfer portal stop being beneficial to the kids? Because I think we've reached that point.
Yeah, it's too much, man. It's too much every day. We gotta. I don't know. I guess on Monday I'm gonna do some research over the weekend and get some info on what, and try to see if I can get some feedback on where certain profile names are leaning, like DJ Uiagalelei and some of the other the guys that are known, the running back
Brennan Armstrong.
Yeah, Trey Sanders from Alabama, Armstrong. Trey Sanders has actually mentioned to Deion Sanders, "Hey, Unc, you got any room for me?" He wants to go to Colorado, which would be a great pickup. Now, can I make a Jody was saying something about he not taking his assistants, and I wanted to say something about that.
Sure, go for it. Yeah, that's cool. We can end on that.
He didn't take Brett Bartolone because Brett Bartolone was an assistant quarterback coach and an analyst before he gave him a shot to call plays. Brett Bartolone isn't ready to call plays at the Power 5 level. He's just not. And Deion knows that. And that's why Sean Lewis is a former head coach at Kent State and an OC under Dino Babers, who has a great track record. So that's why Deion is taking Sean Lewis and not – and plus he's bringing over the Mississippi Valley State coach, Willie Taggart's supposed to come. He really doesn't need Brett Bartolone anymore. He's got 3 guys that can handle the complexities of what he's trying to do offensively between them 3 experienced guys. You know what I mean? So
right.
You know, Bartolone, he gave him a shot. He did well. Bartolone might even somehow stay at Jackson State. I mean, no reason for him to leave. He's making good money. Yeah.
These jobs, when somebody like a Deion Sanders, or whenever it's time for Eddie George to move on from Tennessee State, or whenever he steps down or moves on or wants to leave, it opens up a spot. And I've always said this: give us the opportunity. Get me a guy that's going to coach at a Howard. Get me a young black guy like a Sean McVay type dude that can come in and innovate an offense and do it at a Howard. And let me see him do that. And then be able to get to the D1 level, the FBS level, to get there at 35. You see what I'm saying? Instead of where Deion is at, the thing that hurts Deion the most is that he's at the level of the FBS at 55. It's a different game at 55 than it is when you're 35. True. It's when you're 35 that gives you that 10 to 15 year thing where you grow, you develop, maybe you move up in terms of degree of difficulty. So you look at a guy like an Eddie Robinson. He started coaching in the 1940s, okay? And he was young. I mean, he was a young guy, practically fresh out of college. So that's different when you can get in at that level. So you want to get these young bucks and give them their chance to cut their teeth as a coordinator in their late 20s, early 30s. And that's the circle of life in college coaching. You know, that's how it works. So listen, everybody, we've gone a little longer today on the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, for Tony Kennedy and for Jody Coleman. Devin, once again, thank you for being on the show. Excellent stuff. Why don't you plug your show? When are you going to be back on Urban Radio?
We'll be back on. I took a hiatus for a while because I just had so much other stuff going on, but I'll be back on the beginning of 2023. So I will, new platform, new logo and all that. I'm working on all that now, but I took a few months off. I just needed to decompress and, football, coaching. I mean, I had so much going on. I just didn't have no time. So now I got a little more downtime. I'll get back to it. So you can catch me January I think I'm going to bring it back to 9th. January 9th, 2023 will be back on Issues Radio Live. Spotify and all that. Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Radio. I'll be on all those like I was.
Excellent. So we'll get a chance to check that out, but definitely we'll give you some plugs on the show. Get you some viewership over there. Hey guys, everyone enjoy your weekend, and we will be back on Monday. All right, everyone have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us here on the TD Report.
Peace, Dave.
Ciao.
All right, brother.